Hello everyone, welcome to another Art of War tier list on a Tuesday. What's up, Jack?
You know what it is today? It's Taco Tuesday.
It is also Taco Tuesday, but more importantly, it's time for a tier list. I'm here with Jack. We are here to talk about one of my favorite books in the game right now, and actually definitely my favorite book in the game right now. One of my favorite factions of all time, Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
Are you hyped?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of my favorite factions. Played them off and on through 8th, through 9th. They're just a lot of fun, and they, for some reason, all my favorite armies are like religious zealots. I don't know why, but Black Templars, Sisters of Battle, Word
No
Bearers,
meaning there. Don't look any deeper.
No meaning. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, love myself some Sisters of Battle. Been playing them all throughout 9th. They were the first army I played in 9th. And I took them to a couple tournaments a few months ago. You've been playing them a lot. You're known as the guy, I hear.
Yeah, one of the guys. Oh, Mitch Beard.
I can't
I can read the chat. Mitch Beard is in the chat,
you can.
berating Art of War for getting Team USA's Custodes and Tau players to talk about sisters. Well, Mitch, you know what? We all make sacrifices sometimes. Sometimes you have to get in the Mortifier so that Paragon Brandon can fly.
That's right. They had to. We're really the sisters killer players because we need to know how to end sisters.
That's true.
As Mitch Beard found out.
Oh, poor Mitch.
Yeah, poor Mitch.
All right, so yeah, we're here to rank every single data sheet in the book. Fortunately, this was easy this time because I didn't have to go to Forge World because the Repressor is just never coming back. Do you remember that thing?
No, honestly.
It was it was like a Sisters transport that had like a couple of like mini heavy bolter turrets and you could shoot out of it.
Oh yeah, then you would move with Dominions.
Exactly, and it was a Forge World tank. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it looked pretty baller. But they stopped selling it a while ago. I'm pretty sure it's called the Repressor. Oh, Mitch Beard was putting the Mortifier.
Mitch, I love you. Go listen to the Sister Act podcast.
Go listen to it. Ouch. Yeah. I
don't know not Mitch. I'm saying people in chat.
Yeah, they should. Mitch Beard is our good friend who is on Team Iceland and is the host of the Sister Act podcast,
which John and
we've both been on. Mitch has also been on the Art of War podcast talking about sisters, so you should definitely check out his content if you can.
I still have my little Sister Act pin that he gave me for being on his podcast. I still have it up on my shelf next to all my sisters' models. I actually do
too, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into it, shall we? You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start off with the Ministorum part of this. By some weird alphabetical thing, the priests are first. So first up, we have the Ministorum priest, the missionary. So this is the HQ priest. This one's like totally not bad.
I never find room for her ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, this is the one him in here probably.
Well, I mean, it could be. Who knows?
Who knows?
I never find room for them.
I really want to because so the missionary only gets access to the first 3 of the 6 chants, but they're not bad, and we're willing to pay a relic, which is a very precious command point, to get an extra cast, but we could totally just take the missionary instead, and it's just the 40 points.
I think it's 40, 45.
I think it's maybe 45, then it goes to 50 if you buy an Electro Stubber or something.
If you buy the chain sword.
It's like the
you
black.
You can tell how often we take.
Yeah,
these
we never take this thing. I genuinely don't think it's bad.
It's not. The reason you don't see it, it's because there's a preacher.
But the preacher doesn't know.
I know, doesn't know any of the ones, but just cast the war hymn that you're going to cast anyway.
It does just cast the war hymn, doesn't it?
Oh, we don't have funky named tiers.
We do not, unfortunately. Sadly. Yeah, because I stole someone else's tier list.
Sad.
Indeed.
I think you can change the names.
Oh, I could not figure out how. Me and Richard looked.
Oh, fair enough.
Here's the missionary. It's not going in A tier. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it could fall in B. It is a perfectly good choice.
No, it is a good choice. It just suffers from I don't want to take up the HQ slot, honestly, and it suffers because I want just a preacher instead. If I'm going to do that, 25 points instead of instead of 40, 45, however many it is. The main thing is the first 3 chants aren't that great. if I recall correctly, they're the do D3 mortal wounds, which is okay in this meta.
It's starting to get better with Catan.
It is with phase caps, with Abaddon.
It's also, I love to point this out, it's not D3 mortals. It's D3 mortals against non-chaos.
How many is it?
Flat 3 against Chaos.
Abaddon! Okay, so that actually does get a lot better.
Flat 3 against Abaddon. And because you can auto-pass it for 1 CP.
And you can auto-pass it in any phase. So, okay,
like,
that is a lot better.
He can just, like, walk up and, like, he's your normal Warham guy. And then you just, like, against Abaddon, you shoot him. And then, like, in your charge phase, you're like, maybe, 3 more.
My favorite is doing it in the morale phase.
Or the psychic phase. Like, you do it whenever you want.
Yeah. It probably would be the charge phase right before Repentia go and tune Abaddon up.
Probably would be. That's when I would do it. So, like, I don't know.
Actually, I think in this meta, I think the access to that Mortal Wounds does put him up a whole tier.
And let's also point out that the next book is Chaos Demons. And we don't know much about the book yet, but GW's been doing some leaks and some hints, and we know that ignoring invulns does not work against demons. They put that on their website. So, like, I think it's going to end up being top of B for me still, but, like, it's getting more interesting.
Honestly?
And also, like, we kind of hate Catan. I really hate Catan, actually. No. We don't like Abaddon. It's useful.
No. You don't have to. I'm honestly arguing for it to be bottom of A, just because access to those mortal wounds, 95% of the time he's casting Warham, same as a preacher.
Yeah.
But the one time when you need to be like, well, Abaddon gotta die. Abaddon gonna die.
Yeah, you just 1 CP kill
1 CP, 3 mortal wounds. Yeah. And then you hit him with, like, Repentia or Zephyrim with real wounds, and you're like, and you're gone.
Yeah.
Right, otherwise you have no way to kill Abaddon in a single turn.
Yeah, no, the only other way is hoping that your Seraphim are just, like, real good.
That's not a thing.
Not a thing.
So otherwise, Abaddon can just charge into your lines, and if he charges into your lines, you basically have no answer for that.
Yeah, no, it kind of blows.
Whereas including this guy single-handedly means, like, you can't do that. Yeah. Because I will 1 CP kill Abaddon.
Yeah, no, that will kill Abaddon. Just this little preacher is just the angriest boy, just yelling at Abaddon so hard. He just dies.
And against Catan, you do that in, like, the charge phase. You do shooting in the shooting phase. And between the two of those, you probably get your 3.
Yeah. The Seraphim actually average it.
Seraphim get it?
Yeah.
Oh, because they only have a 4-up. There's no,
they
there's
just
no armor
set. Yeah, you just... But, like, you know, if you get to the point where you're like, 7 left.
Yeah, you do 2,
average
and you're like,
nothing.
I have nothing here that can do that. Boom, dead.
Yeah. No, it's...
And I would totally pay 15 points for that.
Yeah, this is better than the preacher.
The HQ slot. Now, in
the
our
HQ
list,
slot's not a problem
in our lists, we see a Canoness and Vahl.
Yeah.
But in a lot of lists, you see other characters.
But then as soon as that happens, like, you put Celestine in, you just bump Vahl to the Supreme Command, and it's like, sure, nothing changed.
True.
So you can get 4 HQs in a battalion, essentially, by just taking Vahl and her Supreme Command. So, like, I don't think HQ slots are a big limit at all. All right. Preacher, or the Missionary. I'm willing to go bottom of A.
I think right now the Missionary's better
I'm willing to go bottom of... Oh, it definitely is, yeah.
Yeah.
The Preacher is all the things that we mentioned, except half of them, because it only does Warham.
Which Warham is 95% of what the Missionary does.
Yeah.
But the 5% of the time is sniping Abaddon out like a champ.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. The Missionary also unlocks the little guys don't take up a slot.
Which is...
If your elites get crowded, it can be cute.
It can. Imagifier.
This one's low. So, like, the best thing it can do is take the +1 strength aura. But, like, that's the best thing it can do. There's a couple of relics. Martyred Lady and Bloody Rose each have a weirdly specific, like, relic that they can take that's not that useful. And then you can take a generic relic that gives them an extra scroll, but there's, like, only one good one.
It's like it used to be really good, and now it's like just a succession of, like, terrible.
Yeah, the strength buff is not very relevant, unfortunately.
No, it's not. You can get Repentia up to strength 7, which is cute.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that the old Imagifier is not the worst.
I mean, I think we're saving that for a special character.
We are, but like I think that this is going to be the bottom of C. It just happens to be the first one there.
If you're familiar with our tier lists, you basically know how we rank them. S is like competitive staple.
Yep.
A is strong choice.
Yeah, we should actually talk about that.
Yeah, so the way it works is S here is a competitive staple. This is something you're going to see role player in many lists. Almost every list, or should be in every list, in our opinion. A is a strong choice. It's something you don't need to include, but if you do, it's going to do insanely good work for you. B is perfectly average, which is perfectly average. You can include it, you cannot, and it's fine. C is flawed choice, which means you can choose it, but there's something that is wrong with it usually.
There's usually a reason it's not there.
Yeah. Maybe it's too expensive for what it does. Maybe it doesn't do anything like the Imagifier, but like a little bit, but it's cheap. So like,
yeah, it's not like the Imagifier costs a lot.
And then D is like, well, what are we doing here? Get out of here.
Yeah, D is I actively mock you for including.
D
I
is,
high five you for out of respect. Yeah. One of the two.
D is Astrid Thurga tier.
It's the D stands for Agatha Dolan, her little sidekick. Yeah.
God, Astrid Thurga sucks.
Yeah, she's pretty bad. All right, let's
Palatine.
Let's rock up. Man, so many characters to front of this. We've got the Palatine up next. The Palatine's just like your little sister's lieutenant.
Yep.
She can take the faith upgrades. She's a good character. She's good relic and warlord trade caddy. She's like perfectly solid and everything. Her kind of main weakness is that she's a monopose model who doesn't have war gear options. You can choose if you want to have a bolt pistol or a plasma pistol, and that's about the extent of choices you get with a Palatine.
Get a power sword.
You come with a power sword. You can choose
to have like a Rosarius or something for an invuln, I think.
But I think it's 0 points, so like you just take it.
It used to be, I think you had to pay points for it, but
okay, it's currently
like I think
currently
in 8th
free.
Edition you got to.
Yeah, I think in 8th when it came out it was like 5 points, and now it's just included.
Yeah. So my main problem with the two. I actually have two. So you want somebody other than Morvenn Vahl. And Vahl is both a captain and a lieutenant aura, so either a Canoness or a Palatine could be replaced by Vahl. The problem is, while Palatine is cheaper, she is so much worse than a Canoness.
She is significantly worse, because she's like only 5 points cheaper,
something
but
like that,
she then doesn't get weapon options. She has 1 less attack and wound.
And she has a power sword instead of a blessed blade.
Yeah, the blessed blade does cost points.
But I'm willing to spend them.
Yeah, I'm willing to spend them too, yeah. So my take on it is that the Palatine is actually better than a Canoness if you are trying to be the cheapest caddy.
Yes.
But the Canoness has so many more options to upgrade and is inherently tougher and hits a little harder. So she takes upgrades much better and she gets more upgrades. So like, if what I've seen is people taking a Palatine with Word of the Emperor. No relics, no weapons, no warlord traits. Just like, yep, someone is carrying Word of the Emperor.
That's what, 85 points?
Yeah.
I would so much rather spend the 15 and get a good combat character.
Fully agreed. But like, if you're not spending the relic and you're not spending the warlord trait and you're not buying a blessed blade, at that point, a Palatine is actually probably better than a Canoness with power sword because she buffs Repentia much better. Yeah,
no, she is better than a Canoness if you're not willing to spend for it. But the problem is that a Canoness is just... It's the difference. There's usually a break point in characters where they go from being not good in combat to being good in combat. And there is no way to take a Palatine over that line.
Yeah, you have to take an order-specific relic. A Martyred Lady has a relic power sword that's like legit good.
Yeah, but I would rather put that on an extra attack Canoness than on her.
I'd rather put it on a Bloody Rose character, but...
Yeah, and Mina's, what is it, Mina's Wrath for the
Mina's
sword?
Wrath, yeah.
Mina's Wrath on a 4-attack character is just not exciting to me. No. At all.
So for me, I think that the Palatine is actually going to fall into the top of B tier.
I think. Well, sure. I mean, at that point,
you're thinking bottom of A, or like,
I think I'm bottom.
I think she's worse than the missionary. I would take a missionary before her.
Oh, 100%. I'm not saying A. I'm saying bottom of B, like below the preacher.
Maybe yeah. We'll kind of see how that stacks up. All right, we're getting to the good stuff. Still characters. I didn't choose the order on this. It's just kind of happening.
Dogmata.
Hold on. We're gonna put a unit in here.
Oh, we can go all characters.
Fine. All right, Dogmata.
Still put the unit in there.
The Dogmata is awesome. Like,
the Dogmata is amazing.
Can I just like rattle off what the Dogmata is? Like an elite character that costs a little bit more. Like weirdly, it's like, oh yeah, all the elite characters like 45, 50, 55, 50, 45,
like, what,
65, and you're like, oh well, I'm sure she's good for this. Ha! Yes. Yes.
Spoiler alert.
So the Dogmata is like a normal chaplain type. So just like a preacher, she puts out a chant.
Yes.
And the difference is that because she's an Adeptus Sororitas preacher, she gets access to all 6 instead of the first 3.
Good.
And the second half is where 2 of the 3 that I consider to be like good chants, 2 out of the 3 are in the sisters only half. So
what's the third one? There's the gain an extra sacred right. And the plus 1.
That's good. So the Dogmata does that. So she's 20 points more than a missionary and an elite slot. But she fulfills the same role with better access. She's also in power armor and gets armor contempt and is a little better in melee.
Significantly better in melee.
She doesn't have zealot, but she's still like good. She's a good.
You can turn her into a good combat character if you want.
The famed Bonkmata is something I love using. But where it gets really spicy is that she has 2 more rules for those 20 extra points. She's a 6-inch aura aura of action and shoot.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
That is so good. Nothing like Retributors raising a banner and shooting.
I'm like, oh, wow, I really don't have anyone to knock me day to this turn. Retributors. Just Retributors do it.
They're just doing it.
They didn't advance, because why would they? No problem. Also, in your command phase, she picks a core unit, and she gives them objective secured.
Which, weirdly enough, sisters do not have great objective secured.
Yeah, no, they really don't.
They really don't. This one character gives them amazing objective secured. And it's perfect. It's in the command phase. So you can pick a unit that's on an objective and just take it back that your opponent was trying to take. And then you just score your points. And then that unit goes and takes your opponent's objective away. And guess what? They don't get their points.
Yeah, this is... The Dogmata is clutch money.
Honestly, the Dogmata, to me, is better than Vahl.
No. The Dogmata...
Without that OBSEC, the ability to send OBSEC downfield, I think sisters just don't work as an army.
It would definitely be different. But, like, without Vahl, they also...
They do work without Vahl. It's not great, but without the Dogmata, I think you don't work.
So what I'll happily put down is that the Dogmata, in my mind, is the best elite character in the game.
The Tallyman, like, has a really hard run for money.
Yeah, Death Guard... With their 75 elite characters, do have at least one good one.
Yes, and the guy that makes you not count as fighting. Yeah, like a lot of armies would take that.
Yeah, a lot would, but every army would take a Dogmata. Every single one.
Yeah, pretty much.
There is not one who would not take a Dogmata.
65 is so.
65, good. Like give OBSEC, action shoot, also chance, and the chants are good. Like and good relic access.
Yep, the Sigil Ecclesiasticus.
Yeah, no, Dogmata. To me, she's going S. Yeah. We can argue about the order later, but she's up there as a great character.
I mean, if Vahl is leading the way in S tier, I'm not sad about it.
Yeah, like you know what I'm going to be arguing for.
It's more just I want people to understand how good the Dogmata is that I'm even saying that's
fair. That is one of the few characters that I would not like smack you for making the comparison. I have my opinion on it, but like you're not wrong. The Dogmata is amazing. All right. Sisters of Battle. Just the generic troop choice, Sisters of Battle. For a very long time, the Sisters community has been complaining that at 11 points a model, a Sister of Battle is kind of overpriced because it doesn't do anything. But I genuinely think that with the Armor of Contempt add, they don't need to go down anymore.
No, they certainly don't.
They certainly do not. So, it's 55 for 5. Yeah, they're so annoying to shift.
And they are objective secured natively, one of the only ways to get it in the book. The Dogmata providing it really helps, but other than that, you basically have units that aren't useful that get OBSEC, and so you're not like you don't really want objective secured in the army. This is one of the few ways that you have it. And you basically have to take it because you're taking battalion.
Because sisters have great relics and warlord traits, they like having a battalion. Yes. Because they have good stratagems, they like taking battalion. Because they take a battalion, you got to take at least 2 sisters of battle.
Great elites choices too. They like
taking you also like that. Yeah, it's hard to go a patrol vanguard.
Yeah.
So for me, I think Battle Sisters, they're in a weird spot where they're a tournament staple because every single list takes them.
They're a troop.
But that's because they're a troop in a book that only has 2 troops and one of them has a cultist role. You literally have to take Battle Sisters in a patrol, or if you take a patrol or a battalion, you have to take Battle Sisters.
So, like, by that logic, you put them at the top of S, but that's not how it works.
No. So for me, just rating it as how badly I want them, they're going to end up being, like, bottom of A. They're still useful, maybe top of B.
I think they're, like, middle of B tier for me. I never want to take them because I always want to take more Zephyrum, more Seraphim, more other stuff.
Full disclosure, if Novitiates did not have the weird restriction, I would not take a Battle Sister squad.
Exactly.
Or I'd probably take 1 and then 2 Novitiates, but, like, I still think that they're better than a Preacher to me. Because of Armor Contempt and they're still OBSEC and they're cheap.
Yeah.
But top of B, I think, is about where that ends up at most. All right. Celestine. I love Saint Celestine, but I have not been using her much recently in my own personal lists.
I also love Saint Celestine. I own 2. One of them hasn't been assembled yet, but I do own 2.
Yeah, I also own 2. One of them is fully painted, and one of them is in a box. I think she's a little bit overhyped right now. Full disclosure. I think
we do need to talk about the 20-man Sisters of Battle blog.
Okay, that's fair. So before we'll circle back to Celestine in a second. A good shout in the chat about the 20 strong Sisters of Battle unit because we only talked about them as 5 strongs.
Are we gonna?
I have a very low opinion of that.
I have an even lower opinion than you.
I have tried them several times. I don't know if you've ever put them on the table.
I've played against them.
Yeah.
You wanna know what they did?
Nothing.
Died.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I am nothing and then died was the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not. I think the ability to take. It's always funny because like you can like Sisters used to be a 5 to 10 unit, and then Legionaries were a 5 to 20 unit, and now like you can take larger Sister squads and you can take Gene Stealer units, and I'm like, what is going on here? I don't know why they go up to 20. There's no reason for it.
I think they want to do like a lot of the faith-based armies are going for like the large blobs of guys that just like walk forward and take shots. Unfortunately, in 40k, that is just not a strategy you can win the game with. No, period.
That's not what you want to do.
You cannot take a 220-point unit pre-upgrades, which, by the way, you probably want to take if you're taking a 220-point unit. So this is like 240. A 240-point unit that has very negligible damage output. I mean, the Stormbolter chant that makes them auto wound on 6s, and
then you do like 6s to hit,
and you do 6s to hit. Do more.
It's a lot of effort. That is
a lot of effort and resources to do very little damage. Yeah. In combat, they're garbage. In shooting, they're garbage, and they just sit there. And the idea is that they're objective secured and they sit on objectives. The problem is a 220 to 40-point unit that just sits in the center of the board and takes fire is going to die real fast in today's economy.
Well, I'm fully with it. So, Celestine. Celestine's amazing. She hits hard. She's fast. Yep. She's sanctified, so she can receive a lot of buffs.
She's one of the best users of Vahl buff.
Yep, she is a great user of the Vahl buff. She can stand up. She's relatively durable. Armor Contempt helped her out a lot. She is Tonka tough. But she is 200 points.
Yes.
And for me, her being hard-hitting is not as hard-hitting as 200 comparable points. A lot of people kind of compare her to a 4th Zephyrim squad. Because frankly, if I had fast attack slots, I would just take Zephyrim over Celestine. Yeah. But there is a very real slot limit in Sisters where if you take your single battalion and you have really good fast attack slots, so more on that coming soon,
you do run out.
You do run out very quickly. Yeah. So I understand why Celestine's in a lot of lists. I still don't think she's worth it.
So for me, the cutting point was losing Bodyguard.
Yeah,
as an arm, like a game-wide mechanic. Mm-hmm. She was absurd with Bodyguard because she's 6-inch heroic. She could string out with Bodyguard, so you couldn't shoot her, and then she would just contest objectives, control objectives, and your opponent would have to They had very limited options about how to deal with that board.
Shockingly little options.
Very few. They had bad ones and other bad ones. They could ignore her, or who cares what their options were because that rule went away. Mm-hmm. But with her. That was the point where I think she gets cut for me. She's 200 points. She is very good She's very good.
She's
she
good.
Probably needs a little bit of a points drop for me because comparable options in the book are just kind of outweigh her. But she is very good, and she does things that the book doesn't normally do, which is she operates on her own.
Yes. I actually don't think she needs any changes at all. I think that she is just not quite in because there's a lot of really good things in the book, and that's okay.
I would still put her at A.
Absolutely. For me, she was going to end up closer to the top of A, front half of A.
I always want to run her.
I do as well, but she has not made the cut for me in quite a while.
Yeah, she hasn't made the cut for me since Bodyguard, but I want to run her so bad, John. Mitch was having fun. Well, fun's the wrong word for that game, but he was doing things with her, and it was super cool, and I was like, I want to play Celestine.
I get it. For some reason, the named character Sister Battle has made it in. She doesn't actually have rules.
Cool.
To the bottom. All right, here's...
the Imagifier? Yeah.
I like... The Imagifier is so interesting.
Yes.
And it doesn't make the cut. So it's a priest, similar to a Dogmata.
Yes.
And it knows all the same chants, and it's cheaper. So it's like a cheaper Dogmata that doesn't have the 2 special rules that are amazing. It has 2 other special rules, and they're not... Sanctified. It is sanctified, and it's not quite as good as the Dogmata, is the problem. So it's 15 points cheaper. Same priestly role. And she's an aura of +1 leadership, which is genuinely useful. Yeah, because when you say you can get your leadership quite high, and that can be very important because you can give them +1 leadership. Then you sacred ground an objective, and then that becomes an aura of +1 leadership. And then if you have the shrine,
no, not the Imagifier, the Dialogus. I did know which one it was, but
wow, yeah, I just went with it. Yes, we're talking about the Dialogus.
The Dialogus,
the other
ranked, preacher. We did know that.
Ranked the Imagifier. Yeah. I'm rattling off the right rules.
You are rattling off the right rules.
Sorry. So the Dialogus, who I dearly love. The plus 1 leadership's cool. You can stack it with inspiring from the battle sanctum. You can stack it with the plus 1 leadership that you get in an aura when you do your sacred ground. So you can get like a plus 3 leadership aura going, and that's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of like how my Blood Angels would casually be like leadership 12.
Yeah.
And it came up every so often because like Kodiaz gives a bubble and Dante gives a bubble and the Ancient gives a bubble, and suddenly I'm leadership 12, and it's like that's nice to have. I'm not gonna lie, that was nice.
Yeah, it's nice,
especially into Chaos Knights.
Into Chaos Knights especially is where this would be amazing. Then there's the other half of it, which is the her Modify Miracle Dice thing, where a Sisters Battle unit within 6 inches, when it uses a Miracle Dice, you can modify it by +1 or -1.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And it's not core character locked. You can use it on a Rhino or a Castigator or on anything. And that's like so close to what I want it to be. But you don't want to be taking those units that much, and you don't want to be investing in them.
Yeah, I mean, the nice part about that, I mean, that is a good rule. The modification.
It's a good rule, yeah.
It's a good rule because a lot of the time you need your Miracle Dice to hit a breakpoint. I need to make a 9-inch charge. I need to make a leadership on a 1. I need to make an invuln on a 6. And being close doesn't cut it. You have to hit that number or you don't. And she really helps you get there.
Yeah. Still, I think for me, she's better than the Magifier.
Yes.
I think she is still C tier.
I think she just suffers by comparison.
Yeah, absolutely she does. But like, she is worse than a Dogmata by a margin. She's worse than the other priests. Like, she's the worst priest in my mind. Like, the worst.
How many points is she?
She's 50.
I don't think she's that bad. She's basically a missionary in the elite slot for 10 more points that has like a Miracle Die modification mechanic.
Yeah, that's like cool.
Yeah, so I think she belongs in B. Honestly, I'd rather take her over a Palatine. Screw a Palatine.
I would take a Palatine first. I just like the realm where I get to taking a Palatine happens more than me taking.
She is close enough to a missionary that I would keep her in. Just like if you had 10 extra points, I would totally upgrade a missionary to a Dialogist.
Yeah, I guess.
And then still have the same role of casting War Hymn every turn and modifying dice, and then occasionally Abaddon go bye-bye.
Every once in a while, yeah. So okay, I can put her there, and we can work with that. Next up we have the Exorcist.
Oh, the Exorcist.
It's like not
what happened to you.
We like literally for I think 14 years I have heard Sisters players say, "Man, the Exorcist should be indirect because the rockets go, top side. They go up and then come down." And like, yeah, it should be. And then they gave us a 2 CP indirect. And it's like, 2 CP every turn hurts a little bit, but it gives it a roll. And then Armor Contempt happened at the same time that the indirect nerf happened. And now the Exorcist is garbage at indirect.
Yes.
And it's also not very good at direct.
Super terrible at indirect. Like, really, really, really bad. I keep getting reminded every so often by chat of a game I played like 4 years ago probably with Nick on the first iteration of the stream before it was called The Art of Wars, like Brown Magic or something.
Woof.
Yeah. In his parents' basement, like right after LVO. Or maybe it was prep for LVO. I don't remember. I was definitely prep for LVO. It was after BAO. Anyway, this is really in the past. 3 Exorcists hitting on 6s killed 3 of my planes. And every so often, I was very mad. And every so often, people bring that up in the chat because they watched it like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And if you know that, if you've seen that video, I love you.
Yeah. I've tried to make the Exorcist work, legitimately. Before Armor Contempt, I was running it, and it just doesn't do enough for me.
No,
the 2CP no longer does enough. One of the 2 is just such a bad breakpoint right now.
One of the weird nerfs on it, honestly, the biggest reason I don't like it is because To the Last went away.
Also that.
Not even because it would be a To the Last, although it would be.
It could also go get To the Last.
Yeah, your opponent has a 1 model that like escaped the firestorm and is running away. You're like, 2 CP, it's dead. That's 5 points. Thank you very much.
I think legitimately the last time I played an Exorcist on the table is pre-Armor Contempt, and I used one to go indirect and kill a Farseer. And I was like, not even joking, I spent the 1 CP on Abhor the Witch for +1 to hit. So I was hitting on 2s, wounded on 2s. I got 1 failed save through, and I'm like, miracle.
Dead.
Like, it would take a miracle 6 damage get off.
Yeah.
But that's not it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the ability to peel without To the Last, the low damage just means it's not.
Yeah.
There's no point to it.
I think the Exorcist is, because of how badly indirect got hit, I think it's legitimately the worst vehicle we have, and I think it's going to fall to C tier.
I think C tier is fine.
Yeah.
I thought you were gearing up for D tier, and I was going to have to argue for it.
Wasn't going to go to D, but it's not good. Oh, yeah, Lloyd Parker, that does sound like me. Yeah, when the new Tau Codex dropped, I spent 4 turns shooting an Exorcist at a
Devilfish without doing anything.
I think I finished it off with Vahl. Like something else. Yeah. I forget the coup de grace.
But also, I think I played Custodes into that thing, and it, like, picked up a Caladius in 1 turn. Like, you can never tell.
No, you really don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it took me 2.
Through -1 to hit.
It did get a Caladius.
Because we were playing GW, it was all the way on the side of the board. You were firing through that forest, and you were just like, hey, look at that.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Next up, the Hospitaller. I'm never really sure how to pronounce that. I love the Hospi.
Yeah,
I don't see her that often. She like in like top end competitive lists, I see her in like 30 to 40%. Like enough that I'm like, it's not just me. But I don't see her all the time.
I saw her in like no WTC lists.
I saw she was in our list, and I saw her in one.
She was in our list because John and I have a very high opinion of the Hospi. Yeah.
I saw her in one other. I don't remember which.
Here's the reason why. You didn't see a lot of those lists with 10-girl Retributor bricks.
You do not see that often.
A thing John and I are a massive fan of.
Yeah.
Because what you can do, it's very hard to... She is very tied to the 10-girl Retributor brick. So do you want to rate them... Do you want to rate them side by side? Because we can talk about why we like them.
We definitely can, yeah. We can move Retributors up and make these the next 2. So... The awesome thing that the Hospitaller does is she's a 6 at Feel No Pain aura. She's sanctified, which is cute.
Yeah.
And she is only 50 points. The important thing is that for 1 command point, she can heal D3 models in a Sister's Infantry unit.
Yes.
And so she does the normal Apothecary thing where she heals D3 wounds on a wounded character, which is like, yay, that's very nice of you. The big thing is the healing D3 models instead of 1. You do have to pay the command point, which does admittedly kind of suck sometimes.
Not a fan of that when I have
to,
but you get
healing to do some... D3 models with her is amazing.
Yes, you get to do some stupid stuff. You have a 4-girl Repentia unit, boom, it's a 6-girl Repentia unit, go murder.
And you get extra distance off of it.
The biggest thing is against an opponent that shoots hard. Like, let's talk Chaos Knights, for example, or Imperial Knights. If you leave a 10-girl Retributor brick out in the open and just tank shots, they could just clean kill the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But it would take them a while. It would take them activation to kill the whole thing, but they probably could.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you want to shoot in that?
You just put the Meltas in line of sight.
You just put the 4 Meltas. When I played against Andrew Gagno and his 4 Hammerhead nonsense on almost an open board, over and over again, I would stick just the 4 Meltas in the open, pop a Hammerhead. His return fire would kill the 4 Meltas. I wasn't using shoot on death as much as I should have, but I should have been shooting on death as well.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
And then what you do at that point is you pull back behind the wall because you just pull the 4 Meltas the shot. And then the Hospitaller on your turn regrows D3. Those shoot with Vahl buff, with the Cherub again.
In line of sight. They don't necessarily have to move to do that, so they may not take a heavy penalty.
Yep, and then all of a sudden you're like pulling a 2nd unit off the board, and then your other unit steps out and shoots and kills another unit. Yep. And then you just keep that cycle going. They kill the 4 girls on the 2nd unit, you res them, you fire their Cherub, and all of a sudden you're winning a shooting war with Tau, somehow.
Yeah. You can do a lot of really good work with the large Retributor squads, and when you take them, it really makes the Hospitaller better. I am of the opinion that if you go smaller squads, the Hospitaller probably doesn't make the cut.
Probably not.
But it's close. And it does also help, against random damage like vehicle explosions and, indirect that kills a couple of Repentia. You're just like, they're coming back. I really like it against Catan because if they do random chip damage all over with Skyfalling Stars, 1, you do get a Feel No Pain against it. 2, you can then heal models back so that an important unit that get hit a little harder than you want gets models back, which could be extra movement. So if they Skyfalling Stars a Repentia squad, it's like, you killed 2 because I have 5 Feel No Pain and you did 2d3 mortals. But, now I'm just going to get them back and also I have a better charge now. Like, thanks.
Yeah, people might just not target those
just
units.
Not do it.
They might just not do it because they don't want to give you potentially like 4 extra inches of movement by just extending the squad out further.
Yep, that's what I want.
If they kill 3 and you roll that 3, they could be just in serious trouble.
Yeah, like that's so much extra distance on. So much extra distance.
Yeah, that's legitimately could be like 6 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 5.8.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's
enough. So I love the Hospitaller. I think that she's going to be A tier for me. She's not S.
I personally think that combo is S tier.
I agree, but for me, that's the Retributors are doing most of that work.
I think you only can have that if you have the Hospitaller. Because the ability to do that where you just stick the guns out, pull the guns, and then res the guns back is only viable with a Hospi.
I agree, but the Rets are going to be an S tier even without a Hospitaller.
That is true.
And a Hospitaller without Rets is like bottom of B.
Right, let's put her, I would say
I was thinking top of A. Yeah.
Top of A.
Yeah, she's the higher end of A. I'm going to be controversial and put her ahead of Celestine. Sorry, folks.
Yep. If you wonder why, it's for that exact combo that we talked about. Yep. It's so hard for people to answer.
And let's just cycle into it now. Retributors, S, right?
Yep. 5 girls are fine. 10 girls are very, very, very difficult for people to deal with. Mm-hmm. Like, to an insane degree.
Yeah.
Because they're just standing in cover with Armor of Contempt. Mm-hmm. And if your opponent has enough firepower to kill the whole squad, you just put the guns out. And if they don't, you also just put the guns out, but you pull from the back, and then they just shoot turn after turn.
And the back 6 girls are in cover, and it's like, this is going to take forever. Have fun.
Yeah. I repeatedly against Tyranids, I would just stand the 4 Meltas in the open, the rest of it in cover, and they had no options to kill them.
Yep.
Period. They could fire heavy venom cannons, and I would get 4-ups, and then I would res models, and they would just do nothing. They would just do nothing.
It's kind of beautiful.
It was. I would have 8 multi-meltas shooting every turn, and there was not a thing they could do about it.
Yeah.
Whereas if they were 5-girl squads, there was a thing they could do about it. It's called killing them.
Yeah. So let's talk about Immolators. Immolators are like so close to good. I'm not going to tell you they're good. But a heavy bolter Immolator is a clean 100 points now, I believe. And for a clean hundo, it's a Razorback with 3 heavy bolters.
Oh, because there's one on the nose.
It is one on the nose.
Oh, that's...
And it's like 20 points more than Rhino for 3 heavy bolters, but down 4 slots. And like legitimately, I've thought to myself, like, okay, I'm currently paying 215 points for a Rhino and a Castigator. And for 200 points, I could get 2 Immolators and basically replace the autocannon on the Castigator with 3 heavy bolters and just split across 2 platforms. And then I hold 12 models instead of 10. But the biggest problem is that I can't hold 2 units in one transport. Or I can't hold a big unit in one transport.
Is the pregame move from Bloody Rose that tied to a Rhino, or is it tied to a transport?
It's tied to a transport. But then there's 1 less unit inside.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the Cascade... that's not the Cascade. Cascade's amazing. Immolator is fine. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with it. It's decently pointed for a transport. It doesn't transport anything I'm super excited about.
Yeah, it's just, that's the problem.
6 models is just never going to excite me. Like, I could put a 6-man Repentia unit in there and just, it would be okay.
Yeah, 6 Repentia is good. Like, that's a good, annoying, like, box to have floating around. But, like, no, I'm not that excited about it.
No, I'm not that excited. But it is decent. I could see you taking, like, 2 to 3 of these and just putting, like, 6 Repentia, 6 Repentia, 6 Repentia, and then you have, like, no way of shooting them off the board early, easily, especially if you, like, bury them into ruins. But then if you're burying them into ruins, you're not shooting. Yeah. So, like, the transport and the guns are at odds. What if there was a unit that was just pure transport and a unit that was pure guns?
Yeah.
What if?
It's how it always ends up working. So yeah. I'm always torn because I want the Immolator to be more worth it, and it's so close to worth it. It really is. It's almost there. But it's not there. So for me, the Immolator, I think it actually ends up in B tier. The Immolator appeals more to me than putting a Dialogus in.
More to me than putting a Palatine in.
Yeah.
Not more than putting Preacher.
There we go. That's where it ends then. Junith.
Junith Eruita.
Junith has 2 problems.
I took her in the old book. That was fun.
In the old book, she had less than 2 problems.
Yeah.
Junith has 2 problems. One, she's tied to Order Martyred Lady. That's not a death sentence because Martyred Lady is probably a top 3 order.
Definitely
probably
like
top 2,
second.
honestly. I think it's second.
I think it's second.
Where Bloody Rose is the consensus first, and it's both of our favorites.
Oh, yeah.
And Martyred Lady is not quite there. It's close.
Close.
It's not quite there.
It does feel like Sisters is a melee army. Mm-hmm. But only... Like, it does feel like an army that's built around melee.
But only if you're Bloody Rose.
But only if you're Bloody Rose. And if you're anything else, the units just don't work the same. And I know there's Order of our Martyred Lady apologists in chat, and Order of our Martyred Lady is fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Junith, to me, the other problem is that her rules are too limited in my mind. So, Junith is a captain, essentially. She gives the Canoness buff of reroll 1s to hit. She's no longer the Palatine buff of reroll 1s. She lost that. And then she lost that, yeah. She's just reroll 1s to hit. And she also is the... she gives a light cover buff. And the problem is that light cover buff is for units wholly within 6 inches, not within 6. And being wholly within Junith is a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, wholly within is just that's rough.
Wholly within is wrong. Like, that's the wrong number.
No, it should be partly within, because cover is so easy to get anyway.
Exactly. And it's only for infantry. It's not like it's for core.
Yeah.
So, like, if I could give it to Paragons, there would be a legit argument for Martyred Lady Paragons that get light cover from Junith, because that is now a 1-up save with Armor Contempt, a 0-up save. That's tough.
That is very tough.
But, like, it's not that. It's infantry wholly within 6. And, like, if I'm wholly within 6, I'll find a frickin' wall to touch.
Yeah.
Like,
most boards have light cover everywhere.
Yeah, so I think Junith is let down a little bit by her rules. She's cool. She still floats around on the on the pulpit with 2 heavy flamers and a mace. And the mace is better than an average mace, but it's not like beat stick level.
I think if you are running Order of Our Martyred Lady, you could consider running her. She's fine, but she's fine, but like, she's cheaper Vahl, but that's not
what I want.
I want the real thing.
Yeah. So Junith, love her.
If you are running big deals, though.
Yeah, I mean, but like, to me, she's like,
she's down there.
I think she's C tier.
Yeah, I think she's C tier.
Junith she just doesn't do enough to make me want to take her. She's not that many points.
She is. All of this is by comparison, by the way.
Yeah, it is by comparison. If Junith was the only named character, maybe you would consider her.
No, if literally all she needs is Vahl to not exist.
No, I would not. If I were taking
also Bloody Rose to not exist.
If I were taking an Armored Lady list without Vahl, I still wouldn't take her, because she doesn't do anything. She's a Canoness that floats and costs more and gets 2 heavy flamers, and it's like, oh, that's cool, but now I don't get Word of the Emperor.
It's true.
Or Relics or World of Traits. Like, I would take a generic Canoness in my theoretical no Vahl Martyr Lady list.
Okay, if you're losing out on comparison to a generic HQ, then you probably
it's like anytime
that's a viable reason.
Anytime a named captain is worse than a Space Marine captain, you're just like,
no,
gone.
What are we doing here?
Like, no, Junith is worse than Canoness to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Let's get a little better.
I love
this is one of Jack's favorites. Arco-flagellant.
I think flagellants.
I'm down with it. Whippy boys.
Oh, Whippy boys.
The wacky wavy inflatable arm tube band.
I played my my MSU Rhino Rush build that I ran with the old book that I ran in the Drukhari Menace, Drukhari Summer. Had 3 units of these, and they did amazing work. Yeah. I have not played them since the new book came out. There are a lot of good options in the book. Haven't found my way around to doing them. Now, I think if you run a MSU Rhino Rush style, I think you do include them again. They are still phenomenal at that role. But I don't really remember how much of their stats changed.
They averaged out. So they went from D3 attacks with a strat for 3 to 2 attacks with a strat for 3.
And then they make double attacks on their...
No, it used to be make D3 hit rolls for every...
Oh, it's 2 for every attack they have. And they have I think they have 2.
They're the same stats as before. They're 2 wounds, a 5 up, feel no pain, no save. But like maybe like a 6 of armor, but like no.
It was very fun before to roll a ton of dice. And my opponent's like, okay, so that's like 8 hits, right? And I'm like, no, that's the number of attacks I'm making. Yeah. And then I grab a significantly larger pile of dice and then roll it, and then re-roll it.
Yeah, I love Arco-flag units. They're really good at just being a very cheap unit. They don't get Miracle Life, so I don't use them. But they move 7. They're really good at jumping out of a Rhino, moving 10 inches off of a hull, and just being like, woo! And
we do not need buffs to be good, which is very good if you're coming out of a Rhino, because you don't get buffs.
Yep. They're a cheap blender into MSU.
And there's still 2 wounds with a 5 up feel no pain, I believe, right?
It's a good smite screen.
Good smite screen, good durability. Like, your opponent might just not kill them, and then...
No, I like them, but because they're not order, they don't get the passion, they don't get Miracle Dice. They
got the passion.
Yeah, so they're good because they don't need buffs. They're bad because they don't get buffs.
Yes. I think in the standard Sisters style, where it's the Vahl Defense Force with Retributors, Repentia, and missiles going out.
Vahl's moving castle.
Sure. I think that they don't have a home.
No.
But I think there is a build that people have not explored. I've talked about, but I just haven't.
Frankly, if we're taking Immolators,
Immolators with 6 Arco-flagellants inside are terrifying.
Yeah, that's like actually really cool.
Yeah, I think there is an MSU Rhino and Immolator rush build that exists. I haven't built it yet. I might at some point.
Yeah.
But I think it exists, and it does include 2+ units of Arco-flagellants.
I think Arcos are going to fall into like the bottom half of B tier for me.
I think they're better than the Immolator.
I would take an Immolator first.
You're talking about current build. Again, they don't have a home in the current build.
Yeah.
But I think as a unit, they are good enough.
I mean, they could go be here or here. I'll give you in front of the Immolator with protest, because it doesn't really matter.
I mean, if we're talking about how well each of these units slots into the current build, sure.
That's even
then it's probably down in C tier.
No. Even if I'm trying to build another list, I think I would be more inclined to build a list around Immolators than Arcos. I actually like Immolators.
I think it's both. I think that list involves both Immolators and Arco-flagellants.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Celestians, not Sacrosancts, just Celestians.
This was actually my favorite unit from the last book.
This I genuinely have taken 30 of these in the tournament. I have
taken 30 of these as well.
Not in 9th edition.
Not in 9th, but I did take it to a middle of COVID TTS tournament.
Yeah, I took
TTS League.
My last event before COVID was a 4-round RTT, and I took 30 Sacrosancts.
Yep. I also took 30 Sacrosancts. That is, I got like 2nd or 3rd or something, and that is what got me my interview with Mitch Beard.
Hey.
But yeah, I loved them. They hit so surprisingly hard, and nobody like thought that they were going to hit that hard.
But now
I love Sacrosancts, but they suck.
It's +1 point over a Battle Sister for a number of very cool rules.
Yes.
Not even cool rules. For a number of good stat buffs that don't matter because it's on an elite choice that's a Battle Sister.
+1 attack.
You get +1 attack, +1 leadership, +1 weapon skill.
Yep.
For 1 point. And that's awesome. You get better special weapon access.
And you reroll hits if you're near Canoness.
I think that's gone.
Maybe it's +1 to hit. There is some kind of
that got turned into a stratagem for +1 to hit, I think.
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe they still reroll hits near Canoness.
I think they do.
I think that they just have the bodyguard rule, which is obviously now like, yeah, they're still lookouts, or even if you kill them down to 2.
Yeah, the bodyguard nerf basically means it doesn't exist as a
rule. For me, regardless of that, I feel like Sacrosancts...
When they're within 6 inches of a Canoness Superior, a Canoness or a Palatine, they get +1 to hit.
Oh, cool. Well, that's nice.
Yeah. Don't need that, but like it's cool. They hit on 2s in combat if they're near not Celestine, Sacrosanct. Oh my god, I can't.
Yeah, just Celestine.
If they're near a Canoness, if they're near a Canoness or they're near Vahl, then they are +1 hit, which is pretty good.
So that's fine. It's just like I can't be excited about them because they're just girls with bolters. And like I feel like their war gear needs to be slightly cheaper, like Van Vets. I think that's actually the solution. The problem is that they pay full price for all their war gear. Yes. You know how like Van Vets get cheaper Lightning Claws than Tactical Marines? Celestians should get discounted special weapons and discounted combo weapons.
They really should.
And if they did, I would take them. As it is, generic Celestians just don't cut it.
They just don't have a point. Like, they have no purpose.
They have no purpose. They're worse than Battle Sisters because they're not OBSEC.
I experimented in them with Argent Shroud with, like, a single multi-melta in the squad, and then they hit on 2s because they're +1 to hit.
Yeah, and they ignore the heavy penalty.
And you
use a reroll on a wound roll.
Yep, use a reroll on a wound roll. And it says, is Canoness Superior? Oh, Canoness Superior is a...
Junith, and it's Crusade.
Junith and Crusade. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
But Canoness, which is fine. Yeah, I experimented with it, but what I ended up finding out was in that build, sure, those 2 multi-melta shots were great, but they weren't worth exposing the unit at that points cost. So, like, what I could do is either, like, shoot, like, 3 multi-melta units at a thing and kill it, and then I'm exposing 3 units and they all die on the crackback, or I could expose none of them and then I don't kill that thing, or I could just use Retributors, the actual multi-melta unit. Yeah. And,
Sad.
Yeah.
Speaking of Canoness.
Canoness are great.
Canoness are great.
Love Canoness.
It's a good HQ choice. Captain, rerolls. It's barely more than a Palatine, but it gets +1 attack and wound. And it has a ton of war gear options. It can take all the points upgrades. It takes all the relics and roller traits. It's a staple. You see a Canoness in 80-90% of competitive Sisters lists. They're really good. We both take one.
Yep.
You can make them hit hard without having to buy relics. You can make them hit hard by giving them relics.
I personally really like the one with Blessed Blade, Word of the Emperor, and Chaplet of Sacrifice, and Blazing Ire.
Yeah.
She's very good with that. We still include her in the list even after this apocalypse.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I started running her in my list, and I think you tried her out, and you were like, ooh, that's really good.
I think she's going to S.
Yeah, she's in S. Yeah, just straight up.
That's just pretty simple. Yeah, she's just there. All right. This is what I love. Tune into Sisters Act for more love on engines.
I do think that the Dominion squad and the Celestian squad are combined.
They are combined in that, but I have a separate icon for the Dominion, so we'll do the Dominions at the end.
Fantastic.
Yep. So first up is Mortifiers. Mortifiers are better than Penitents.
Is Tim Penny in the chat? Can we get some Tim action?
Mortifiers. So like Mortifiers and Penitents used to be comparable, and then Armor Contempt happened, and one of them has the right keywords and one of them doesn't.
Yeah, one of them got +1 save.
Yeah, the one that got Armor Contempt is the one that also happened to have the 5-up Feel No Pain.
Yeah, they remembered how to do that.
Yeah, so between these two, because we're going to kind of side by side them.
Yeah.
Mortifiers are more expensive.
Yes.
And they are tougher. And then they get the Feel No Pain. We've got Endymion here with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. It helps us grow the channel. All right, here's the super chat. When doing it 2x10 Rets, do you start both squads out firing Meltas or just the one until it fully dies and then the second starts? Should it be together or separate sides for more firing lanes? Any tips on charge protection? So that really depends on the opponent. If I think my opponent has the ability to kill a full Retributor squad in one turn, not in one activation, in one turn, I'll probably just step one out.
Yeah.
And I'll give it full Vahl rerolls. I'll step out 4 Meltas. They'll shoot on death. I'll pull the models out of line of sight and
regrow them.
Then I'll regrow them later, and then maybe the other squad steps out later.
Yeah.
If my opponent lacks the ability to kill a 10-strong squad in shooting and cover, I will step both out, and one of them will be less efficient because it has regular rerolls instead of full rerolls.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
What you can do is when the 4 multi-meltas get scooped and you pull behind the wall, you heal them up and step the other unit out, and then the following turn, heal them up again. On average, that's all 4, but maybe it's not. But on average, it's all 4, and you basically just get to keep zigzagging them out like that. Personally, I like starting them like one. Like, you kind of interleave the rest of the girls in the squad because you want to receive buffs from the same people.
Yep.
And then I like having the 4 multi-meltas on one side of my castle and the other 4 multi-meltas in the other so that I can put 4 multi-meltas anywhere I want.
I usually end up splitting my castle into 2, where if I find 2 ruins that are like within 12 inches of each other, and I just kind of put them each in one ruin, and then I have Vahl like in the middle straddling so that she can buff in either direction.
Yeah, I tend to like to make one castle. I think you like to spread it out a little more.
I do, yeah. So good options either way.
Good options for sure.
All right, so
any tips on charge protection?
Ooh,
yes, it's called if they step into a range where they can move up and charge Retributors, they get charged by Repentia.
Yeah, for me, charge protection against it's either saturating with units that can heroic like a Canoness with Fight Last, or having Vahl nearby, or just physically move blocking. But then also there's the fact that Rets are just good units in defensible terrain. So if you put the entire unit in defensible terrain against a melee heavy army and they decide to charge you, you're like, 5's full rerolls to hit.
4 rerolls to wound off all, and
you actually do a decent amount of damage. Yep, it turns out.
But I do think you space them out with Repentia, because if they step into that range, you hit them with Repentia. Yep. So that's the tip for charge protection for me. All right, so Mortifiers and Penitent Engines.
Mortifiers are definitely going to be higher here for me than Pensions.
Oh, for sure.
Because they get the fight Feel No Pain, they get Armor Contempt, they get access to heavy bolters. Where Penitents, really the only thing that they do is that they're faster combat units because they can advance and charge naturally. Unfortunately, their guns are heavy, so you lose the heavy flamers to advance and charge. And they don't get Miracle Ice, so they're not a super reliable advance and charge.
Neither of them get them, but the Mortifiers generate them when you kill stuff. Is that correct?
Oddly, that is correct, yes. Yeah, because the Mortifiers are Adeptus Sororitas without Acts of Faith. They are too heretical to use Miracle Ice, but we still appreciate their kills.
Yeah, it's like you can dedicate your faith to the faith that's going on.
But faith is not rewarding you.
But you're not getting it anymore.
Yeah. So I think Mortifiers are like perfectly solid. They're good as a cheap backfield unit.
Yep.
The biggest problem for them is slots, because in a single battalion, you really want Rets. And then it's like, how many slots do I have left? So like I would love to have 2 or 3 solo Mortifiers, But then to get 2 or 3 of them requires you to have like 4 or 5 heavy support slots minimum, which is hard to do.
Honestly, they are for the first 5 heavy support slots, or not first 5, first 4. First 4 heavy support slots are contested for me with Retributors, Castigator.
Yeah.
And I cut the last Castigator because I only have 3 slots.
Yeah.
So they are far from making it in my lists personally, but they are pretty good in today's meta.
I think they're pretty good. Yeah,
they are.
I would put them in like the bottom of B tier. I think
better
they're
than a Palatine.
I genuinely
give Tim Penny his due.
Yeah, I was an entire book and like edition ago. Yeah, I would take a Palatine first.
Fine, fair.
But Mortifiers are going to end up a little bit lower for me. They're going to.
That's just because there's an open HQ slot and there's not an open heavy support slot.
That's exactly why. Yeah. But like, just the reality where I take a Palatine is more real than the one where I take Mortifiers right now.
Fair.
Sad, but it's true.
Sad but true.
All right. Let's go Repentia. Let's put some units up a little bit higher on this tier list. We know where Repentia are going, right?
Straight to the top, baby. Let's do it.
Straight to the top. We can argue order on this later, but like...
Yeah, they all kind of mesh into a single whole that's S tier, but like... Oh my gosh. Repentia.
They're just beautiful. They hit so hard. Fight on Death makes them a great defensive unit. They are very fragile, but they hit so hard, and they fight on death, and they hit so hard...
And they hit so hard. And they just keep hitting.
Yeah.
Against melee armies, 3 units of Repentia win you the game on the spot. No questions asked, just by themselves.
So, awkwardly, I'm realizing now that the image here has the Repentia Superior with the Repentia. So, let's just go ahead and lump them together. Because
they are the same unit?
Yeah, they can just stick together on this one. But, so just know that we're ranking both at the same time here. Because they're both in the same spot. Because technically, you can take Repentia without a Superior. You really can't take a Superior without Repentia. You can, but like don't.
Like why?
So, theoretically, if we were doing them separate, it would be Repentia, then the Superior, but they're going to be in the same slot, which is S tier.
They functionally are. Now, S tier, again, just for people in chat, S tier basically just means tournament staple here.
Yeah, that means I want them in my tournament list, and I'm not looking to cut them.
I want 3 units.
Yeah.
I want... The most I can take is 3. Cool, I'm taking 3. If I can take more than that, I would take more than that.
Nope, I am... Big old fan of Yield Repentia. They're so strong.
They move very, very fast, and they hit ungodly hard.
Yeah. And they receive buffs well.
They do. They receive buffs.
They love Miracle Dice.
They love reroll wounds off of Vahl when you just must end something.
They use strats very well.
They do.
They have Zealots. They reroll full hits, so 6s to hit auto wound is great on them.
They're probably the most reliable damage outputting unit in the game, possibly. The 4-up rerolls with exploding 6s just always seems to hit at average for me.
Yeah, it gets real close every time.
Yeah, like every single time.
Yeah, they're real strong. Like, just Repentia are something else. It should not be a surprise at all that they're like right at the top.
I just mean like reliably, they do their damage.
Yeah.
Every time you swing with them, they just do the amount of damage you want them to do. And with the Superior, they're +1 to wound. You can give them rerolls to wound. You can give them auto wound on 6s to hit. You can give them 6s to wound or extra damage. There's a lot of ways to juice those numbers up. But just at base, they hit really hard. And you don't need to put any buffs on them. But if you put buffs on them, oh my god.
Yeah. They're real good. So, yeah. I mean,
that's not going to surprise anyone.
No, this is not a surprise.
No.
Here's one. The Triumph.
All right.
The Triumph, we fondly remember her from the 8th edition book. She was amazing.
She was very good.
She has gotten worse and got a little more expensive, and that is a painful combo, but she's not inherently bad.
I remember when my Rhino Rush build caught flack for not including the Triumph, because the Triumph was the Vahl of the last book.
Yes.
She got so much worse.
She did.
But she's
still useful.
Still not bad.
Let's talk about the positives. She's still the 6-inch aura of +1 to hit in combat.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
That is amazing.
She is still good Miracle Dice generation. She gives an extra one in your turn.
Which is...
So you get 3 per battle round instead of 2.
When you absolutely must get a 12 on Leap of Faith by turn 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love...
Or Necrons today.
Yeah. I love that she lets you flip a Miracle Dice to a 6.
It's so
You get really good value out of that.
Is it once per turn?
I think it's once per battle round.
Sure.
That's basically what she does. She walks around. She gives +1 to hit. Better Miracle Dice combat. She gives auto pass morale, which is actually cool.
Did she get cheaper?
Nope, she's 200. Yeah, she needs to be like 180 for me to be happy about her, but
200 is so expensive. Now she does have one of the most useless rules in the book, which is she always benefits from all 6 sacred rites, which, considering you're already taking passion, which is the useful one, she gets such winners as her 6 bolt pistols on 6s to wound get an extra AP.
I really wish that she, like, command phase gave that to someone.
Yeah.
Like, give someone +1 advance and charge.
Yep.
Give someone 6, like...
But yeah, she's just... That rule sucks. And she's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But she's not bad.
I think she still would fall into B tier for me. She's not A tier.
No. But I could see an inclusion where I, like, understand what she's about.
Yeah, she was in Team Australia's list, which is mentioned. She does help melee builds because the +1 to hit aura is really nice.
I think she was in Team Australia's list so that they could literally max Leap of Faith by turn 3.
Yeah.
So if they're in the middle of getting tabled, guess what? They max Leap of Faith. Or we're playing against Knights where I don't kill something in every phase of the game. Okay, still maxed Leap of Faith on turn like 4. Like, it's fine. I'm going to score my points, and I think in a team format that's very valuable. I wish we'd actually thought of that. But I think that in, like, Order of Our Martyred Lady, she's passable. She's passable. She works.
In Martyred Lady?
Yeah. Because I don't think in Bloody Rose she finds a spot. But in, like, Martyred Lady, I think she does.
I'd be more inclined to take her in Bloody Rose. Because the +1 to hit is a good melee buff on the melee.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want... I think Martyred Lady is still a combat army. It just sucks at it. And I would like to make them better at it.
Martyred Lady has so many Miracle Ice because they get a Miracle Ice every time they lose a unit.
It's true. And Martyred Lady, you're going to be losing a lot of units.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. I think I'm fine with her in, like, middle B tier.
Yeah.
She's better than people think, but she still doesn't quite make the cut for me.
Yeah.
Rhinos. Rhino's good. Every
good.
list has a Rhino. It's one of those things where it's, like, not, like, amazing or broken, but it's just solidly useful. And having at least one in a sister's list is a good staple. It loves being Bloody Rose because it can get a scout move for a command point on and carry forth the faithful. Really good stratagem.
Yep. 1 command point, 2 for the stuff you really want, but
yeah, put other stuff in its one. I spend 1 on it. So I liked having a Rhino.
Sometimes, you know, if I'm playing Tau and I've got planes and I'm going to shoot you, and then my opponent puts, like, their valuable stuff in the Rhino, I'm like, oh, that makes it a lot more awkward to try and deal with.
Yeah.
Like, a lot harder to deal with.
That is, strictly speaking, the goal. Rhino's good. Like, no way around it. Rhino's good. I think it goes to A tier just as a super solid unit. It's not, like, dynamic enough for me to say S tier.
No.
But it goes in every list for me still. Like, I still will take 1 Rhino in every sister's list I write until the rules change.
Yeah, the only thing that conflicts with the Rhino for me is the Battle Sanctum.
That's fair.
Same points cost, right?
Same points cost, but, like, I think actually...
Kind of the same role?
Same points cost, a similar role. Battle Sanctum gives you more Miracle Dice, which is always nice.
Yep.
And it protects units at line of sight on the tables that they get command phase, on the tables that they get hit by planes and indirect and skyfalling math.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, to me, they're kind of the same role, which is a Portafort. Like, can you not fit everything into your central fort? Mm-hmm. Oh, do you need to, like, stick out a little bit? Well... You can either pregame set it up with the Battle Sanctum and you have your perfect castle and everything's awesome. Or you have a Rhino that's kind of like a little, as I said, Portafort.
Yeah.
Just like...
For me, the Rhino wins because it, 1, holds objectives, 2, moves. 3, the pregame scout move helps a lot for me.
It does. You don't use it with Retributors, but if you put Retributors in there, your opponent's just going to deploy like solid 12 inches back. And
then the Rhino also always works. Where the Portafort of your Battle Sanctum does not really work on GW terrain because it doesn't fit, and you have to then replace a terrain feature.
We're only talking about ITC, the player placed.
Yeah, on player placed, the Battle Sanctum gets a real good consideration for me.
Yes.
Anything else, and I'm like, it probably stays at home.
Yeah. I would agree. I think it definitely stays at home if you can't guarantee you can place it where you want.
Yep.
But if you can guarantee you can place it where you want, I personally would take it over the Rhino, but I understand that you feel different.
At that point it becomes a meta call. For me, because Necrons are so powerful right now, and because planes are starting to make a bit of a resurgence with Harpies and Sun Sharks, I really just think that I would rather have the transport.
That's fair.
But the Battle Sanctum is going to end up close. Let's...
I mean, we talked about the Battle Sanctum. Let's...
Yeah, you want to just do the Battle Sanctum now?
Yep.
So, for me, the Battle Sanctum is A tier when it works.
Yes.
And when it doesn't work, it's D tier.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally...
In ITC, it is A tier.
Yeah, ITC.
GW, it's D tier.
GW, yeah, and WTC, it's here.
Because you can't take
it for it.
You literally can't.
I'm going to be optimistic on this one and say in the player place terrain format, because I think in cases where you can't place it, yeah, it's worse. We know that.
Yeah.
If you can place it, the Battle Sanctum is really good. It's still better than the Missionary to me, but it's probably just below. It's like right here. It's like bottom of A. Like still really good.
I treat the GW terrain format as being you can't take it. And any unit gets worse if there is a rule in the rules pack that says you can't take it.
Yeah.
Like that's my opinion there, is if the rules say you can't take it, no unit is good.
Yeah. So I think the Battle Sanctum falls right there.
Yeah.
Let's get some fast attacks. These are the fun ones.
Yeah.
We've got Zephyrim.
Amazing.
I think are just going straight to S, right?
Straight to S. 15 points is ludicrous. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Zephyrim got a points decrease that they did not deserve or need.
Yes.
And
but
now they're taking it, and now everyone just runs them. And as they should. Zephyrim are amazing. They're super fun. They're core, they're infantry, they fly, they move 12 inches, they deep strike for free.
They come out of deep
get
strike,
miracle
hit pretty
dice.
hard, yeah.
The only points options that you get are give them a flag for 5 points, and the flag is a 6-inch orb real charges. And it's amazing, so you take that every time. Zephyrim for me are just slam dunk auto include, fantastic.
Every time I attack with them, I'm like, how many attacks do these things have?
Yeah, literally every time I charge them and I kill half of the squad, and they're like, oh, I only have 4 girls left. Let me count 17 dice. I'm like, God, why? Every time.
Yeah, well, when I took Sisters to the couple 9th edition tournaments, I believe, was that before Nephilim? I think it was before Nephilim.
It was before Nephilim.
It was before Nephilim, so it was also before the Zephyrim points changes. I think I included 2 squads of Seraphim, 1 unit of Zephyrim.
I believe that was your split, because I always favored the 2 Zeph, and you liked the 2 Seraphim.
I was also going to a bunch of tournaments with Nick and Brad, who are running Eldar. And,
yeah, no one likes elves.
I need to roast elves.
No one likes elves.
Hardcore. But after the Nephilim changes and the points drops and the secondary changes and everything like that, I would 100% put 2, possibly 3 squads of Zephyrim in there.
You can consider that third for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 squads minimum of Zephyrim seems to be the consensus.
Yes. Slots notwithstanding, take 3.
Yeah.
But fast attack slots being at a premium,
maybe 2.
Now
maybe
you have the
3.
consideration.
And you get choices.
Yeah.
So I again, I love them. Zephyrim, really, really strong. Yeah. No arguments for me. Seraphim. Seraphim are the weirder one to rank. I love Seraphim. I love them because they're cheap. They deep strike and can shoot for 1 command point with hand flamers. Having hand flamers is just useful because there are some situations where you need to kill hordes and you accept no substitutes.
And there's not really much else in this book that kills hordes as fast as double shooting Seraphim.
No, there really isn't.
In fact, there's not much that gets close.
No. So I absolutely love Seraphim.
Yeah, I love Seraphim too.
They're very powerful. So for me, with Seraphim, I'm going to just...
Top of A for
Top
me.
of A,
Top
yeah.
of A.
I think they're right below the Hospi. They're still really good. The slot problem is the only thing wrong with them.
That's true. I would
is
take
that Zephyrim are better.
Honestly, is there a way we can just get 30 Zephyrim and like 18 Seraphim in the list? Or 15 Seraphim?
Yeah, easily. You just start at 1 or 0 command points.
And maybe that's fine.
I would start at -1 with mine, which is
but
not what
you
I'm
have to free some stuff up. But like, I think that's actually fine. Like, you just end up with a ton of great units instead.
I do own that, so
we should talk about that.
Yeah, I own 65.
We should talk.
Seraphim and Zephyrim. It's
that
weird.
That is a thing that is very, very good.
Yeah, it is really strong.
I kind of want that now. And that also gives you more heavy support slots too.
It does, but man, those slots hurt. It's very strong. There's no argument for me. What to actually like put them? I think top of A.
Top A.
I love hand flamers. The infernal pistols, because they lost the range extension of the deep strike shoot, makes the infernal pistols really hard. They're cool in like Ardent Shroud when you can advance and shoot, but that's just not a real thing that I want right now.
Yeah.
Because you can't mix orders.
And even so, I would kind of still want to advance and shoot the hand flamers.
Even then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Celestian and Sacrosancts are really good because they're probably the best melee unit that can be scout moved in a Rhino for 1 command point.
Yeah,
and that's the most common use that you see is people take a unit of Sacrosancts and they put them in a Rhino. They take like 8 or 9 and then they toss a character in, or like 2 Death Cult Assassin or something, and that scout moves and then they go out and charge for 1 command point.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is they used to be the most durable unit in the book. And now they are as durable as a unit of Battle Sisters, almost.
But like, they for their points, they have a
4-up invuln.
Yeah.
They don't have Armor of Contempt, which means they're only better against AP 0, which is like not that big of a deal right now. Or AP1 because they don't have armor contempt, so they don't.
Yeah.
So they're only better against AP0. So like, they're fine. They never make my lists anymore.
They never make it, but like for 4 points more than a Battle Sister, you get a good power weapon, +1 attack, +1 leadership, +1 weapon skill, and a 4-pin one.
Yeah, they're real good. Like, they're what Celestians should be.
Yes.
Which is they are Celestians.
Yeah.
They are fine. They never make the cut, but not because they're not good. Yeah. It's because there's other stuff.
I still think that they're A tier. They're not S tier.
I think they're B tier.
No, you cannot tell me that they're worse than a missionary.
Fine.
I'm willing to go like right behind Celestine.
Yeah, definitely not better than Celestine.
I'll put him behind Celestine.
Okay.
Celestine gets the nod because of slots.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But like, yeah. All right, Paragons.
The
unit that I want to love the most.
So want to take Paragons so badly it hurts, and then I remember
just give them infantry
around walls.
Just give them that good old broadside battlesuit infantry keyword, and they're good.
Yeah, no, they need him. If they are in infantry, they are in S tier probably. Not S tier, but they would be a staple, I think.
They'd be at least A tier.
They're a great way to get an extra heavy support slot because they are functionally a Retributor squad in the elite slots.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
The appeal of Paragons is that they're 4 wounds, 2 up armor, with armor of contempt, and -1 damage. And they're vehicles, so they do get some terrain trouble. But the nice part is that they're situationally very durable. And sometimes they're not, but situationally very durable.
Yes, they have a 6-up invuln, so if your opponent points a Dark Lance at them,
Yeah. The upside here is that Sisters don't have a lot of very durable units, and sometimes you can just be like, oh yeah, my Paragons are super tough into what you're bringing, lol.
I had trouble killing them in a practice game with my WTC list because I just it was just hard to kill them with what I had.
Yep. Endymion, we'll be doing Novitiates at the end. We have not forgotten, I promise. So for me, Paragons, I think go B tier. They are good enough to merit consideration, but they never make the cut for me. I would be more likely to add Sacrosancts than Paragons. Paragons are core, but the lack of infantry hurts.
Oh, yeah. The walking around walls, I came very close to including them in my Dallas Open list, just because I wanted an extra heavy support slot, and they're durable. And then I remembered you have to walk around every wall in existence, which functionally subtracts a ton of movement. They basically have to eat a turn of shooting before they get in range, and that sucks.
Yeah, you can reserve them, but their power level's not low.
No, it's not.
Like 2 CP to reserve them, so... For me, they're like around a Triumph tier.
I would take them... I was about to say over a Triumph under Arco-flagellant.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. They could be here, they could be here, but they're in the rough middle of B.
You put my Arcos where they belong.
Sure.
Yeah, the Paragons, I so want to take them, and I just...
Yeah, I still have 6 that I've not cut the shrink wrap off of yet.
Yeah.
I got them at the same day as the Codex. We ordered at the same time, and it just they're still there. Yeah.
I mean, the really cool part is that, like, 2 of them effortlessly just maul their way through a 10-man Scarab Cult Terminator squad.
There are some upsides.
Because they have the wade into the foe where they exploding 4s, and then you just reroll its
but
wounds.
It stacks with the passion.
And it stacks the passion. And it's like, and then they're like strength 8 with like AP3 damage 3 or something. Maybe it's the swords or that.
Yeah, I think
it's like 6 AP3 3, and you get an extra attack.
Unit Paragons just kills Terminators at speed.
Yeah, and that is, when you play that matchup, that will feel unfair. Yeah. That will feel very unfair. Especially like the 50 Dark Angel Terminator variant where you're like, oh, you can only be winning on 4s. Well, here's 20 wounds anyway. It's fine.
It's crazy. So,
and you can also give them reroll wounds, so it's like 30, and it's like, that's super cool. And I want to, I want to do that to people, but I just, nah.
Yeah. So Morvenn Vahl. Top of S.
Put her above the Dogmata. She's cooler than the Dogmata, so that debate whether she's better or worse than the Dogmata
Stormin Morvenn.
I hate that name. That makes no sense.
Stormin Morvenn. So, in my mind, she is the best Imperium character in the game. Best Imperium, I think. The only named character who I would legitimately say is probably better than Vahl.
Abaddon's bad.
Is Abaddon.
Yeah, Abaddon's way better.
But Morvenn Vahl is... amazing.
Probably the best Imperium.
I cannot think of an Imperium character that's better than Morvenn Vahl.
Yeah. No,
I can't think of a Xenos one either, but like
Baharoth.
I
think Baharoth is better.
Maybe, but
every army would take Baharoth if they could. Every single one.
If you told me that I could take Baharoth in my army, but I had to cut Morvenn Vahl for it, I would not.
Well, the entire Sisters army revolves entirely around.
And the entire Eldar army does not revolve around Baharoth, so no. Vahl stays.
Sure. I mean, that's the metric you're using.
That's the metric I'm using.
It seems like a metric that's designed to put Vahl at the top, but you go you.
That's exactly where she belongs.
Abaddon is better, but what are we even talking about?
No, Morvenn Vahl gives reels to hit and wound to a core or character. She shoots. She's an 8 wound character. She's half damage.
She's so much harder to kill than people think she is.
Yeah.
People take a swing at Vahl and do like 3 damage. All the time. That was insane. And it's like, no.
This happens all the time, yeah.
You know what killed Vahl in my game against Mitch? 2 railgun shots. 2. It took 2.
Yeah.
After I shot her with a commander. Like, she's tough.
Yeah. For me to kill Vahl in our game took 3 rounds of combat with 2 different dreadnoughts and a round of shooting in between.
Yeah.
That's how I got Vahl.
And
I lost one of the 2 dreadnoughts in the process. Like
in a practice game with the Custodes list against Brandon, I hit her with like 4 dreadnought activations and I shot her a couple times and she's still alive on 1 wound.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Vahl's still alive.
Yep. It's also because as soon as she gets low on wounds, you can start getting really squirrely with how like you mitigate damage. Like you can use miracle dice, and then you can modify a die up to a pass with miracle dice and a CP, and you can re-roll a save. And then she has a 4-up against mortals, and she halves incoming damage, and she has a 2-up with Armor of Contempt, and she hits like a freight train on steroids.
She really does. She's the
sometimes
best.
People ask whether or not you take
Righteous Rage.
Righteous Rage on
and the
her.
answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Every time.
Just do.
Without pause, fail, or hesitation, you take Righteous Rage.
You take Righteous Rage.
All right, let's toss the old Castigator in.
Cassie.
Cassandra.
Cassie the Castigator.
Cassie the Friends. Cassie's my favorite.
I always introduced her at Dallas and Motor City as Cassie.
Yeah.
Not a Castigator. This is Cassie.
This is Cassie.
Here's what she does.
Yep. The Castigator is like, she's such like a fun pick for me. I love her. She's my pride and joy.
And then she went down in points, so now like everyone's taking her. Yeah, she's 135 now with the autocannons, and you take the autocannons, to be clear.
Every time.
She was 150 before, and we were both taking her and feeling extremely happy about it. And our Discord, the Art of War Sisters Discord, was like, "Are you guys trolling?" We're like, "Absolutely not." And they're like, "I think this is just deep trolling." And we were like, "No, we're not." And then it went down 15 points.
Now she's in every list.
Yeah.
So what makes her good is that all of these units that we've ranked so far, I think of these like 20-ish units that we've ranked so far, 19 of them don't have a gun longer than like 24 inches.
Yep. There's Vahl, which is
there's Vahl,
very inconsistent.
And then there's like Heavy Bolter Immolator.
Yeah, and we ranked Heavy Bolter Immolator higher because it goes over 24 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like a Castigator light.
The Castigator just is guns that are longer than a Multi-Melta.
Yep.
It's a relatively cheap platform. It does not take buffs, but it's good volume, good enough to get around no rerolls in my mind.
17 shots on average coming out of there with decent strength. AP1, damage 2, it just adds up.
Yeah, it's not great in Armor Contempt, but the rest of your army is. It is good into Tyranids, it's good into Eldar, it's good into Necrons. We don't really know much about demons, but demons probably are an army that doesn't care about high AP based on the demon saves that they put on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Castigator is probably not going to be bad into demons.
I really want to find a way to include a second Castigator.
I would love
just
that.
Putting shots down range. Sometimes you need to kill a nonsense, like a unit of Kroot that's in a backfield on an objective. And you know what does that in this entire army? Nothing. Not a single thing. Just Vahl hoping and praying that her 2d6 shots plus 3 off Fidelis are going to get the job done.
Yeah.
And nothing else in the army reaches out and hits cheap nonsense in your opponent's backfield.
Yeah.
Except for Cassie. And sometimes you just need that.
Yeah, I think she's highly valuable. For me, even though I love her, and she is in all of my lists, for me, she is the very top of A. I wasn't going to put her S because I don't think she is the same level as those units. I think she's good.
135, I think she legitimately might be.
Yeah. She's ahead of Celestine. I will not hear otherwise.
Yeah.
She would literally be the top choice of A for me. Or we could argue for bottom of S. These are functionally the same.
They're functionally the same, and in that case, just to express our love for Cassandra, I think we put her.
We can put her there out of love for Cassandra.
Out of love for Cassandra, and also so that the Art of War Discord
knows that we're just not
they
trolling.
Know.
She's just that good.
She's just that good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Matto, we had a whole segue on the Castigator / Rhino or 2 Immolators. For now, it's Rhino Castigator because of the scout move efficiency of getting more models, and mostly because sometimes we have units larger than 6 that want to get in a box.
Also,
all the time, actually.
An Immolator, the Castigator and the Rhino want to do 2 completely different things, and so having something that does both means that you're sacrificing one or the other. Either you're completely hiding in a place where your unit can be like forward projecting threat, but your opponent can't shoot at it, or you're hanging out all the way in the back taking long range pot shots. And an Immolator with units inside is either picking to be a shooting platform that's worse than a Castigator but doesn't do a Rhino's job, or it can be up forward with just 6 models and it's not using its guns.
Yeah. Or it uses its guns on the approach turn and then it dies, so it shoots once, whereas a Castigator legit can shoot for 3 or 4 turns before it goes down.
Yeah.
Astrid Thurg is D tier.
D tier, she's terrible.
She's the worst.
All she does is once a game an aura of all 6 Sacred Rites, and the Sacred Rites are terrible. If you tell me she does something else, you might be technically correct, but I don't want to hear it.
Do you want to know?
She does something in Crusade.
No. Well, she does do some really good... She does have
specifically Crusade rules,
which I
love being included on my regular units.
She is very good in Crusade.
Sure.
However, her Mastercrafted Power Sword ignores phase locks.
Does it, though? Because are you actually wounding the Nightbringer or...
No promises.
Yeah. It's like how...
Don't even compare her to the Custodes character.
Yeah, it's like that, but way worse.
Way worse.
It's like how Valyrian... I was trying to remember his name. It's like Valyrian can technically ignore phase
But
caps.
Ephriel Stern.
Sure.
Ephriel Stern,
Ephriel Stern is baller.
Ephriel Stern is baller. She is the best thing that doesn't make my list.
She is definitely the best thing that doesn't make the list, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, there's like a literal line in the sand you can see. I think she's better than Celestine. No jokes.
I do think she's better than Celestine.
She is...
I've seen her
She's as a standalone unit. She is 80 points cheaper than Celestine. She does not buff as well. She is situationally tougher, situationally more vulnerable, depending on what you hit her with. She doesn't stand up. She does not hit quite as hard, but she ignores invulns.
She doesn't get the benefit of a lot of rules.
Nope, she doesn't get Miracle Lights, but she is 80 points cheaper. And on a throwaway unit that's designed to operate by herself, that is important.
She also does... I think her Mortal Wounds are in the shooting phase. Are they in the psychic phase?
I believe they're beginning of the shooting phase.
I
know, it's like so close to the right time without being the right time.
Yeah. So Matt O donated $5 super chat for some Celestine slander. The Cassie shooting an armor contempt on heavy terrain sometimes just does nothing. Hope you guys had fun at WTC. Addressing your points in reverse order. We had a blast at WTC. That was amazing.
It was wonderful experience.
Really looking forward to doing it again. Now on to the Cassie shooting. Cassie shooting an armor contempt on heavy terrain sometimes does nothing?
Correct.
Correct. 100%.
Yep. You're right.
But you know what sisters do better than any other army in the entire game?
Kill armor of contempt.
Yes.
And Marines. Like, sisters are the best space marine killers in the game.
So you don't need more stuff that does it.
So it's okay.
Yeah. Like Retributors with multi-meltas ignoring cover.
And AP4 is
AP4 is just like, get out of here.
All right, you get a 6-up now. Let's move on. No, seriously, I would put Stern above Celestine. I'm more likely to take her.
Mr. N, I do think that Stern is better than Celestine.
This is not a slight on Celestine. Celestine is good.
Yeah, Celestine good, but 200 points is the main reason I don't take Celestine.
Yeah. Stern also, she's an agent of the Imperium, so she doesn't take up a slot, which is cute.
That is cute.
But
we generally have an HQ slot for you.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. You have a free slot. It's so easy to get a free slot. So Celestine versus Stern, who's better, who's worse, is it's apples and oranges, even though they're multi-model character units. Other than that, they're kind of different. But purely on which one is more likely to be in a list that I submit in the next month, Stern.
They're probably even for me.
They're pretty
close.
Love
Celestine. I love Celestine so much.
Yeah, she's great. No arguments that Celestine is an amazing unit.
Stern, I have to cut way less to put her in.
Yeah, and Stern, it's the 80 points because they're so... It's not even a slide on either of them. It's that all of the units above them, Celestine is Stern and a unit in cost.
Yeah.
For the same cost as Celestine, I get Stern and 5 Zephyrim with a pennant.
Yeah.
That's a deal breaker. I get Stern and a Rhino, an entire extra Rhino. Stern is more than a throwaway unit. Absolutely.
She also does kind of just win combats by herself. -1 to hit and -1 to wound, and Kaiganil has a 5-up feel no pain.
Yeah, it still has
and they have a lot of
attacks.
And a lot of attacks and a lot of wounds.
Yeah,
and you can go with a sweep attack on Kaiganil, or you can go with a kiss. And then you have your sword that ignores invulns. It is only AP3, which is a little...
It's only AP3, but the last time Stern saw the table, she put the Silent King directly underground.
That's...
You know why? Because even though I can't use Miracle Dice on her because she doesn't have Active Faith, I can discard Miracle Dice to modify her wound rolls up.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah. And then AP3, no invulns just means sometimes that last amount of damage goes through.
Yeah.
She's great for just sweeping a flank with, like, 0 commitment.
Yeah, she goes and beats up small units so efficiently.
And then they need to commit something ludicrous to kill her, and they still might miss.
Yeah, like you put Stern 120 points into a 100-point Intercessor squad or Incursor squad that's holding an objective. Stern murders them, comes out the other side at mostly full health, and requires not another Incursor squad to deal with. She requires a real thing to deal with.
Like a squad of Blade Guard need to go into her, and then they may not kill her.
They wound on 4s.
They really just might not kill her.
They wound on 4s, man.
Like, I think we're talking about like a unit of Van Vets completely dedicated just to her.
After she's already killed something?
And after she's already killed something, and she might still live and gut the squad on the crackback.
Yeah, Stern is a monster.
-1 to hit and wound means you need, like, full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound to have any kind of just, this is definitely killing Stern.
Stern is wild.
Yeah.
We've got 2 little units left. Death Cult Assassins and Crusaders.
Yes.
Death Cult Assassins are awesome because 22 points, they're the cheapest unit we can take.
Yes, these are...
That gives them inherent value that they otherwise would not have.
Both of these are 2 model units in my mind.
They go up to more, but I could genuinely see a 3 if I had for engage. But like, what are the odds I'm engaging?
There's no way you're taking engage.
No, I defend the shrine every time.
In Sisters, like, please.
So they're too strong. They're screens, they're banner raisers, they're backfield holders, they're Overwatch soakers.
They're just, sometimes you need a 22-point unit that just does a thing.
Yeah, neither of these units are good, but they're both so cheap that they get good points. For me, I think that they go, like, top of B.
I could see, yeah, I'm happier to take them than I am to take Battle Sisters.
Yeah, and they literally go one after the other. Death Cult Assassins first, because they're 6 points
26. Cheaper. They're 26, I believe, for 2, and it's like 22.
It's 26 and 32?
I thought they were 22. Something in there was 11.
All right,
and
all that I know for an actual fact is that if I have Death Cult Assassins and my list is 1994, I can upgrade them to Crusaders.
I think it's 22 for the Death Cult for 2 Death Cults, and I think it's 26 for 2 Crusaders.
I bet it's 28. 6-point difference. That's all I know.
Okay.
Either way, they're cheap. They're like 20-ish points, maybe below 30s. They're cheap. They're small. They screen. They're an easy thing to slot in. They don't take up slots if you have a missionary. They're good value, but they're not like crazy broken or anything. They're just cheap. It's super cheap. That's everything except for the 2 units that weren't on us for some reason.
Okay.
So, you're actually just looking up these points costs?
I am actually. They're 26 for 2 Death Cults, and they are 22 for 2 Crusaders.
Really, the Crusaders are cheaper?
Crusaders are 11 points per model.
Okay, wow. I really thought...
I knew one of them was 22. I knew that.
I knew thought the Death Cults were the cheaper one.
Yeah, you do. You have to upgrade to Death Cults. Death Cults have a surprising amount of damage in combat.
They do have like 4 power sword attacks each with Zealots. They go, woo!
Yeah, and they hit on 2s or something. Yeah, they actually surprisingly hit hard.
Okay. So, ignoring Canoness, Viridian, and the named Sergeant who just got a model but like no real rules, we have Dominions and Novitiates still to rank.
Right.
So Dominions, I think, have the huge problem just of fast attack slots. They are worse to me than Seraphim. And...
Switch.
No, not.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So they're worse than Seraphim, and they're worse than Zephyrim. And by the time you have taken as many as you want of both of those, you have taken 6 fast attack slots.
Yeah, we were just talking about how, like, I kind of want to try and build a list that takes 6 fast attack slots. 0 of those are going to Dominions.
Yeah, because also Dominions bring a scout move to a vehicle, which is awesome. They're good for a Rhino rush. They're the only unit that efficiently takes Stormbolters if you want to take Blessed Bolts, which is good. But they went up in points at the same time that Zephyrim and Seraphim went down. And that just murders them in the slot competition. To me, they're just completely dead. So where do you think we would put Dominions? Because they're not bad. They're just worse than Zephyrim and Seraphim by a margin. To me, they're like a little bit above an Immolator.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That is Canoness Viridian.
I know.
Oh, I see. I see what you're doing. Very cute.
We're getting there. Boop. And now it's not.
No.
So, Dominions, I think, are fine right there.
Yep.
And then we have Novitiates last. Novitiates are the other troop choice, the honorable mention. The biggest problem with Novitiates is that they have a rule where you cannot take them unless you take a Battle Sister squad. So for every Novitiate squad you take, you have to have a Battle Sister squad. Yes. In the detachment.
And 3 required troops choices means you generally take 2 Battle Sisters, 1 Novitiate. Now, I will be honest, I have taken 0 Novitiates when I have the option to take Novitiates, just because I want those 20 points elsewhere. John strenuously disagrees with me on that.
I do. I think you did that because they weren't painted.
No.
I think if we had them painted, you would have done it.
Okay, I wouldn't have. I just wanted the 20 points elsewhere. I wanted my troops doing troop things, and I wanted my hammer units doing hammer unit things. Really, I think we're going to have 2 different opinions on these. I think you're going to put them bottom of A, and I think I would put them just above Battle Sisters.
Oh, they're better. I am going to put them bottom of A. You're right about that. They are one of the units, though, where they're...
I can see putting them above Death Cults, which is functionally the same. Top of B, bottom of A is the same slot. So
I will say that I think that they're a unit that very much depends on order. They have to be Bloody Rose. So yes, I'm going to put them like bottom of A, but let's just be clear here. If we were doing an Armarded Lady list, they would be much lower, and I'd be sad.
I would put them top of B tier just because I'm not happy to take them. I'm really not.
I love them.
I know.
We've had different experiences with them. I genuinely get so excited when I use them because they do so well for me every time. Yeah. So Novitiates, boop, there we go.
For me, they don't do well at all. They're just 10 bodies against the Battle Sisters units 5, and they have a worse save, and that's like literally the difference for me.
Oh man, but it's double the bodies.
I know.
And they hit harder, and they're a smaller base.
It is 10 objective secured models as opposed to 5 with a worse save. And would I spend 20 points for that? Maybe. Probably not. And that's where I ended up. And yes, they are better if you stack a million combat buffs, but it's
not even that.
That never happens for me.
It happens all the time.
For you. For me, that never happens. But for me, I'm always hitting you with Zephyrum, Repentia, a character. Just things that take the buffs way better.
For me, it's that they synergize so well with Fight Last. Because if there's ever something in front of me that requires more than 1 hammer, it's Novitiates and...
I get that, but to me, Novitiates don't have reliable damage output. Now, remember,
They're 40 attacks.
Yeah, but they're strength 4 AP 1.
40 attacks?
At strength 4 AP 1. Get out of here with that. Like, no. What are we killing here, Eldar?
I have beat up so many Marines with them. Armor of Contempt be damned. It's like, here's a lot of saves.
Sure, here's like 20 saves, and you fail some of them, and you lose some of your guys. Any other unit in this book would do better.
Not Battle Sisters.
Sure.
Not even close.
Battle Sister 20 points cheaper.
Yeah, and
that's
those
what
20
I like
points,
about them.
that 1 extra Zephyrum you're getting does not kill.
Would I replace unit of Battle Sisters with Novitiates? Probably. They are higher for me on the tier list than regular Battle Sisters.
Crazy.
For me, they're top of B. Would I, if I had 20 points I needed to cut, would I cut them down to Battle Sisters? I have done that. So, like, yes.
Madness. All right. Well, that is everything in the Codex.
Yes.
So... I think we're done there. As far as if we want to reorder anything, I'm pretty happy with how the tiers ended up.
I think my personal tier list just takes the Novitiates down to top of B, and that is the only change.
Yeah. We could move around some of S. Like, do we think the Dogmata is better than all of the things that you buff?
She makes the army.
The Dogmata does make the army go burr.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with the Dogmata being literally.
For people who don't understand why she's better, like, yes, she is not that far away from Dialogus. But the differences are massive. The fact she hands out objective security makes the army function as an army.
Absolutely does. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, I think we're all good here. So we're going to send you off with a commercial for The Worm. As a matter of fact, we're going to be playing a game in The Worm later today. So make sure you tune in and check that out. So if you want to get access to The Worm, go to our website, theartofwar40k.com, or you can become a member right here on YouTube. As always, we appreciate it if you give us a like, a share, subscribe, all those fun buzzwords. And if you want to become a part of our global community where we teach high-level tactics, that's coaches like myself, Jack, Nick Nonvati, Richard Siegler, Brad Chester, and many, many more. You can find that in The Worm. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Your support means everything to us. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There's so many rules in 40K, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.